السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أمين الله على وحيه وعزائم أمره، الخاتم لما سبق والفاتح لما استقبل، والمهيمن على ذلك كله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على صاحب السكينة، السلام على المدفون في المدينة، السلام على المنصور المؤيد، السلام على أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، وعلى أخيه وابن عمه وخليفته وناصره علي أمير المؤمنين وقائد الغر المحجلين. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه والأئمة الطاهرين من ذريته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اليوم يئس الذين كفروا من دينكم. اليوم يئس الذين كفروا من دينكم فلا تخشوهم واخشون. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. By far it is the greatest honor and the greatest privilege that we are the loyal followers of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali alayhi salam. We are the loyal followers who remained steadfast on this path. And the Prophet says to Imam Ali alayhi salam in one of his sayings that I am going to show you soon, that Ali, you and your Shia. The Prophet turns to Imam Ali and says to him, this is this book called Tadhkiratul Khawas. Tadhkiratul Khawas, Al-Allama Sibt ibn al-Jawzi died about 660 years ago in Baghdad. He was Hanbali, then he switched to Hanafi tradition. In fact, died 787 years ago. Died in Damascus, buried in Damascus in Jabal Qasyun, that overlooks the city of Damascus, but was born in Baghdad. He says in his book, one of the scholars of the Hanafi tradition, in page 56, قال عن أبي سعيد الخدري أو الخدري, the companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, قال نظر النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم إلى علي بن أبي طالب فقال هذا وشيعته هم الفائزون يوم القيامة. The Prophet looked at Ali and said, this man and his followers are the triumph and the successful ones indeed on the Day of Judgment. This is one narration. So, congratulations for being part of this exclusive club, unique club, the club of the elite. The elite not in their money, but they have something bigger, a wealth bigger than money and land. And that is intellect, reason, and faith. We are rich by two things: by intellect, reason, aql, and by faith. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All the praise goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who chose us to be members of this exclusive club called Shia Islam, the followers of the Prophet and his family. But we hope that others are going to subscribe, inshallah. Others are going to get on board because the doors are open. The doors of God's mercy and God's gifts and God's blessings and God's guidance is open for all. The door is open and it is never too late. I have seen people in their 70s, well in their 70s, who decided to switch and join the club of the successors, the club of the successful ones. And we can do it, but we need strong determination. We need strong trust in God. We need self-confidence. We need strong faith in God. My friends, the most important event that took in the history of Islam after the bi'thah of the Prophet, the ordination of the Prophet, after the beginning of Islam that took place in Mecca, the second event is the event of Ghadeer Khum, where the Prophet declared publicly and in front of more than 100,000 people that the line of succession continues after me through my family, beginning with Ali ibn Abi Talib, as we're going to see from the books and the credible sources, the mothers of sources in the Sunni tradition. Every hadith I'm going to recite, every story I'm going to relate to you today and convey to you are from the books that are in front of me. And these books are considered sacred, are considered authentic, sahih. No question about them, no doubt about them. And I preferred to use the Sunni sources because I love to address my brothers and sisters from other traditions. Maybe they don't know. Maybe. So if they don't know, I hope they're going to trust me when I read from their own books, from the books, the important and reputable and respectful books in the Sunni tradition about the event of Ghadeer, which has been narrated by 110 companions. 110 companions who spoke about this event. Now, my friends, an important question is, do we believe that these books of Sahih in other traditions, everything in them is authentic? No, this is not the case. This is not the case. For instance, let me show you. This is Musnad al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Ahmad ibn Hanbal is by far the greatest faqih, jurist in the Sunni tradition. He's the Imam of the Hanbali tradition. He was born and died in the city of Baghdad. He lived during the Abbasid time, and in fact he was persecuted by the Abbasids. He was jailed and he died in year 241 in the city of Baghdad. In his Musnad, which is this is volume 1 here. I have the rest of them here on the desk and the others are here on this side. So in his Musnad, he has about 26,000 hadiths. 26,000. Are all of them correct? It depends who you ask. If you ask the school of the Sunni tradition, they say yes. If you ask the Salafi tradition, the Ibn Taymiyyah tradition, Imam Ahmad ibn Abd al-Halim ibn Taymiyyah, Shaykh al-Islam, he says everything that is written in this book is sahih, is correct. In the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he considers every hadith to be authentic. But we, if you ask the Shia tradition, some of them are authentic, but others are not. Definitely others are not. Now, whether Imam Ahmad put these weak hadiths, unreliable hadiths, by accident or on purpose, only God knows. I cannot judge him now after 1200 years. I really cannot judge him because he died. If he died 241, this year is 1441. So exactly 1200 years ago, 1200 years ago he died. I cannot judge him. Maybe it was because of intimidation, persecution. He was put in jail. He was afraid of the government. Maybe he put some hadiths that he did not verify. I don't know the reason. I really cannot judge him. But what I can say, not every single hadith of these 26,000 that he has in this big collection, Mawsu'a encyclopedia, is authentic. Some of them are authentic. I use them as a reference, and some of them does not make sense because it clashes with the aql. And anything clashes with this book, with the Holy Quran, and with reason, we cannot accept it. Now, before I begin and show you where the hadith of Ghadeer is mentioned in the Sunni sources, let me show you an interesting hadith in Musnad al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal himself, and this is volume 1, and this is page 319. 319. عن زيد بن يثيع عن علي قال قيل يا رسول الله من نؤمر بعدك. The hadith is being attributed to Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. The hadith is long. I am choosing the second part of it, not the first part. The second part, the Prophet was asked, O Prophet of God, who are we going to make Amir or Caliph or leader of the Ummah, of the community after your death? He said, وَإِن تُؤَمِّرُوا عَلِيًّا, if you put Ali as a leader after me, وَلَا أَرَاكُمْ فَاعِلِينَ, I think you are not going to do that. You are not going to appoint Ali. You, my community, are not going to accept him. So the Prophet knew what was going on. The Prophet knew that there will be politics. And politics would prevent Imam Ali from ascending to the Khilafah immediately after the Prophet. This is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, my friends. The hadith is there. Check it out. The hadith is 859. Hadith number 859 in volume 1. This is volume 1. This is page 319. And I was sitting today here for 2 hours searching for the hadith until I was able to find it. For 2 hours this morning. وَلَا أَرَاكُمْ فَاعِلِينَ. The Prophet says, I know you. You are not going to appoint Ali. Because the Prophet knows about the politics. But if you appoint him, تَجِدُوهُ هَادِيًا مَهْدِيًا. هَادِيًا مَهْدِيًا. He is guiding and guided. يَأْخُذُ بِكُمُ الطَّرِيقَ الْمُسْتَقِيمِ. He will take you to the straight path. This is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Do we need evidence more than that, my friends? Do we really need evidence? And this book, my friend, in the Salafi Wahhabi tradition, this is book number 1 of hadith. This is book number 1. Some people put this book before these books. Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi, Nisa'i, Ibn Majah. They put this one, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, before these. And in fact, he died before them. Because Ahmad ibn Hanbal died 241. This man, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, radiyallahu anh, died 241, whereas Imam Muslim died 261, 20 years after him. And Ibn Taymiyyah, I repeat, and I am responsible for what I am saying. Ibn Taymiyyah says, all the ahadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal are correct and authentic. Correct and authentic. They are unquestionable. No doubt about that. No doubt about their authenticity. Now, where is Hadith al-Ghadeer? You Shi'as, you claim that Hadith al-Ghadeer is mentioned by the Prophet. Where is it? Show me. Show me from Sunni sources. Don't mention your own books. I'm going to show you. Be patient with me. These are the 6 authentic books. These are the most sacred, the most important. Look at them. I've been using this for so many years now. Almost 25 years I'm using this book. 25 years. Go to Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim is in page 1102. 1102. This is 1102. This is Sahih Muslim. Muslim ibn al-Hajjaj al-Qushayri al-Naysaburi, from Naysabur, the city of Naysabur today in the province of Khurasan in Iran. Hadith 2408. A man, a companion by the name of Zayd ibn Arqam. 3 other companions met him. 3 other companions met him. They said to him, يا زيد لقيت خيرا كثيرا رأيت رسول الله وسمعت حديثه وغزوت معه وصليت خلفه. You've been with the Prophet, you prayed behind him, you went to the military expeditions with him, you heard what he said. So tell us some of what you said from the Prophet directly. He said, ثم قال قام رسول الله يوما فينا خطيبا بماء يدعى خما. The Prophet stood giving a speech. بماء, ma means an oasis in an area called خما بين مكة والمدينة, between Mecca and Medina. فحمد الله وأثنى عليه ووعظ وذكر ثم قال, after sanctifying God, praising God, after giving موعظة, homily and advice, he said, قال أما بعد ألا أيها الناس فإنما أنا بشر يوشك أن يأتي رسول ربي فأجيب وأنا تارك فيكم ثقلين أولهما كتاب الله فيه الهدى والنور فخذوا بكتاب الله واستمسكوا به فحث على كتاب الله ورغب فيه ثم قال وأهل بيتي أذكركم الله في أهل بيتي أذكركم الله في أهل بيتي أذكركم الله في أهل بيتي. The Prophet said, I'm a human and I have to die, and soon I am going to die. God is summoning me, calling me back, and I have to go, I have to respond. But I'm leaving behind me 2 weighty or important or significant things. ثقلين. One is the book of God, the Holy Quran. The second, أهل بيتي. And then he repeats 3 times, أذكركم الله. I'm reminding you about my family. I'm reminding you about my family. I'm reminding you about my family. Come to hadith here and see who his family were. Hadith 6228. فقلنا من أهل بيته. Zayd ibn Arqam was asked, what does the Prophet mean by أهل بيتي, my family? Who are they exactly? Tell me. Tell me. Put your finger on them, on their names. Are there his wives? Are his أهل بيت, his family? قال لا. لا. أيم الله. أيم الله means by God. This is an oath. إن المرأة تكون مع الرجل العصر من الدهر ثم يطلقها فترجع إلى أبيها وقومها. أهل بيته أصله وعصبته الذين حرموا الصدقة من بعده. His wives are not أهل بيت, are not his family, because a man may marry a lady for a long period of time. الدهر. الدهر means 30, 40, 50 years. But maybe one day he's going to divorce her. She goes back to her own tribe. أهل بيته, Zayd ibn Arqam says, the family of the Prophet are those who are the descendants of the Prophet. Those are the origin of the man. Means a blood relative, not relationship by marriage, not a marriage relationship, a blood relationship. Those are Ahlul Bayt. So this is Hadith Muslim. And you heard what the Prophet said on Ghadeer Khum. And it is mentioned here, Khumman. Then we go to the Tirmidhi, 2034. Tirmidhi, Imam at-Tirmidhi, from again, he's Persian, from the city of Termez. Termez is in Biladu Faris, a Persian city. So Imam Abu Isa at-Tirmidhi comes here to Manaqib Ali ibn Abi Talib. Here you come to this hadith. Hadith عن زيد بن أرقم, the same companion. عن النبي قال من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه. من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه. Whoever I am his guardian and his leader, Ali would be his guardian and his leader. The sentence that the Prophet said on the day of Ghadeer is mentioned here. Okay? And then here above, إن عليا مني وأنا منه. Ali is of me and I am of him. وهو ولي كل مؤمن من بعدي. He is wali, and wali here has to be not a friend, because a friendship is already established. The Prophet does not waste his time on telling people this is the friend of this or this is the brother of that. The Prophet here is pointing to something bigger than a friendship and a brotherhood, and that is leadership. And he is wali, guardian of every believer after me. Okay? And then he says more. Tirmidhi says more about Imam Ali. I'm just giving you the example of Ghadeer. See here, for instance, دعا رسول الله عليا وفاطمة وحسن وحسين فقال هؤلاء أهلي. He invited Ali, called Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, said those are my family, here in this page. And then another hadith here. أنت أخي فقال له رسول الله. The Prophet says to Imam Ali, أنت أخي في الدنيا والآخرة. Then عن أنس بن مالك, another companion was sitting next to the Prophet. They brought a grilled bird to the Prophet to eat. The Prophet said, اللهم ائتني بأحب خلقك إليك يأكل معي هذا الطير. Oh God, bring me the most beloved of your creatures to you to share with me this meal. فجاء علي فأكل معه. This is in Jami' Imam al-Tirmidhi. So this is the second source. We go to the third one, Ibn Majah. Imam Ibn Majah, Muhammad ibn Yazid al-Rib'i Al-Qazwini, died in 273. Tirmidhi died 279 Hijri. Ibn Majah died before him, 6 years before him, 273 Hijri. He's from Qazwin. Again, he's from Biladu Faris, Persian. By the way, all those are Persians. All of them. All the 6 are Persians. Ahmad ibn Hanbal was born in Baghdad. But the rest, Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood Sajistani from Sajistan, Nasa'i from Nasa near Shiraz, Ibn Majah from Qazwin, Bukhari from Bukhara, Muslim from Naysabur. All of them are non-Arabs, great scholars who came with passion to study. Because some Arabs took Islam for granted. They wanted to play. They didn't study. But those people traveled thousands of miles to come to Mecca, Medina, Baghdad, later on Damascus, Egypt, and other Kufa, Basra, to study and to learn. So Ibn Majah al-Qazwini, again, this is the hadith. Ibn Majah al-Qazwini, ألست أولى فأخذ. This is أقبلنا مع رسول الله عن البراء بن عازب. The companion who narrates the hadith is Al-Bara' ibn Azib. قال أقبلنا مع رسول الله في حجته التي حج فنزل في بعض الطريق فأمر الصلاة جامعة فأخذ بيد علي فقال ألست أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم؟ قالوا بلى. قال ألست أولى بكل مؤمن من نفسه؟ قالوا بلى. قال فهذا ولي من أنا مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه. Powerful, my friends, powerful. The Prophet on the way between Mecca and Medina, he did his prayers. فأمر الصلاة جامعة, congregational prayers in the desert. And then he took the hand of Ali. He said, am I not have more priority over you than your own selves? They said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, we agree. He said, أَلَسْتُ أَوْلَى بِكُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ مِّن نَفْسِهِ? Am I not having more authority or power over any believer than his own self? They said, yes. قالوا بلى قال فهذا ولي من أنا مولاه. Ali is the guardian of whoever I am his guardian. Allahumma wali man walah wa adi man adah. Oh God, support those who support him and be against those who are against him. And then we come here to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Again, we haven't finished from Imam Ahmad. Number 6. And as I said, this book is accepted by even Ibn Taymiyyah. And Ibn Taymiyyah, very polemic, very anti-Ahlul Bayt. Very anti-Imam Ali, believe me. Very anti-Fatima alayhi salam. Ibn Taymiyyah, if you read his books, Minhaj al-Sunnah, you will be shocked. Believe me, you will be shocked how much hate sometimes people. You will be amazed how much hate they have towards Ahlul Bayt. How much jealousy. How much bias they have against them. How much prejudice and racism they have against the family of the Prophet. One of them is Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. No wonder he lived in the center of Bani Umayyah. And he was rejected by many of the Sunni scholars during his lifetime. During his lifetime, they rejected him because he was radical. He was extremist. So here again in volume number 6, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Abi Tufail. Abi Tufail says, جمع علي رضي الله عنه. The hadith is 19. The number of the hadith in this book, in this encyclopedia, there is 26,000 hadiths. So this hadith is 19,517. This is the number here. Imam Ali, during his leadership in Kufa, the capital was Kufa, جمع الناس في الرحبة. Rahba was an open area where Imam Ali gives speech. It's like a convention center inside the city of Kufa. ثم قال لهم أنشد الله كل امرئ مسلم سمع رسول الله يقول يوم غدير خم ما سمع لما قام. I take you by oath, any one of you who was a companion of the Prophet on the day of Ghadeer, and he heard what the Prophet said on the day of Ghadeer, to stand and show me what the Prophet said. فقام ثلاثون من الناس. Imagine this is 30 years after the incident, or almost 35 years. This is 35 years after the incident. فقام ثلاثون, 30 of the companions. وقال أبو نعيم فقام ناس كثير, more than 30. Plenty of people stood. فشهدوا حين أخذه بيده. They witnessed when the Prophet held the arm of Imam Ali. فقال للناس أتعلمون أني أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم؟ قالوا نعم يا رسول الله. قال من كنت مولاه فهذا مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه. قال فخرجت. Abu Tufail says, I was still having doubt. So I left the meeting. I met Zayd ibn Arqam, the companion of the Prophet. فلقيت زيد بن أرقم فقلت له إني سمعت عليا رضي الله عنه يقول كذا وكذا. Is this right? Ali says the Prophet holds his hand and he has many witnesses supporting his story. Do you think this is true? قال فما تنكر. Why do you have doubt about this story? قد سمعت. I myself heard the Prophet يقول ذلك له. Yes, the Prophet said that Ali is the guardian after me. This is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Another hadith from the book of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and this is volume number 7. And the hadith number is 23,333. So the hadith number, if you want to check it out, 23333. Okay? A man by the name of Buraidah, he didn't like Imam Ali for some reason. I don't know. Many people did not like the Prophet. Many people did not like Jesus during his time. Many people hated Moses during his time. Many people hate God now. How many people hate God? Billions. So you can't do anything about it. You can't do. Okay? This man Buraidah قال غزوت مع علي اليمن فرأيت منه جفوة فلما قدمت على رسول الله ذكرت عليا فتنقصته. I wasn't happy with Imam Ali when we were together in Yemen. When I came back to Medina, I defamed Ali in front of the Prophet. فتنقصته. I defamed him. I slandered him. فرأيت وجه رسول الله يتغير. The face of the Prophet changed out of anger. فقال يا بريدة. He addressed me. ألست أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم? Don't I have more authority and guardianship over the community of the believers than them? Than themselves? قلت بلى يا رسول الله. Of course, sure. قال من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه. Whoever I am his master and his guardian, then Ali is his master and his guardian. Come, these are the books of hadith, okay? Let's come to book of tafsir. This is Al-Fakhr al-Razi, died 606, was born in Tabaristan, died in Kabul. In fact, he was born in Tehran. His father is from Tabaristan, which is Mazandaran today. Mazandaran is on the Caspian Sea. His father is from there. But he was born in Tehran, Ray, Shahr Ray. Ray is an ancient city. Tehran is a new city. But Ray is an ancient city. So he was born there and he died in Kabul in year 606. This is the greatest tafsir in Islam, in Sunni Islam, is Al-Fakhr al-Razi, Al-Tafsir al-Kabir. Come to this volume number 4, page 401. نزلت الآية في فضل علي بن أبي طالب ولما نزلت هذه الآية أخذ بيده وقال. This ayah came, بلغ يا أيها الرسول بلغ ما أنزل إليك من ربك. O the messenger of God, the apostle of God, deliver what you have received from your God. The Prophet said, من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعادي من عاداه. فلقيه عمر met Imam Ali رضي الله عنه فقال هنيئا لك يا ابن أبي طالب أصبحت مولاي ومولى كل مؤمن ومؤمنة. This is Imam Fakhr al-Razi. Okay? Then you come to Sawa'iq al-Muhriqa, which is a very polemic book, which was intended, the author of this book, the author is Al-Muhaddith Ahmad bin Hajar al-Haytami al-Makki, originally from Egypt, was born in Egypt and died in Mecca. And this book, he died about 470 years ago. He says, and he wrote a book to defame the Shia. This book is written polemic book, anti-Shia book. But see what he says inside his book. In page 122, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم غدير خم. The Prophet said on the day of Ghadeer, من كنت مولاه فعلي مولاه اللهم والي من والاه وعاد من عاداه الحديث. And then he says, وأنه رواه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم 30 صحابيا, 30 companions narrated this hadith. وإن كثيرا من طرقه صحيح أو حسن. The chain of narrators are authentic or accepted, صحيح or حسن. This is Ibn Hajar in his book, page 122. And then he says something else. عن جابر بن عبد الله, the companion of the Prophet, that the Prophet said, الناس من شجر شتى, all mankind are from a tree, وأنا وعلي من شجرة واحدة. I and Ali from one tree, one origin, one soil. one fabric, one طينة. And then أخرج الطبراني, when the Prophet used to get upset, إذا غضب لم يجترئ أحد أن يكلمه إلا علي. Nobody would dare to speak to him when the Prophet is upset except Ali ibn Abi Talib. Except Ali ibn Abi Talib. Because he loves him. The Prophet loves Imam Ali. When I get upset, nobody dares to talk to me except my granddaughter, because I love her unconditional. She comes to me and I start smiling. When you love someone unconditional, this is the case. The Prophet loved Imam Ali unconditional. This is what he says in his book. This is not a Shia book. In fact, this is, unfortunately, I have to say, an anti-Shia book, written against the Shia. But this is what he says in his book. Okay? من آذى عليا فقد آذاني. Whoever hurts Ali is hurting me. من أحب عليا فقد أحبني. Whoever loves Ali is loving me, meaning the Prophet. ومن أحبني فقد أحب الله. ومن أبغض عليا فقد أبغضني. ومن أبغضني فقد أبغض الله. Whoever loves Ali loves the Prophet, and whoever loves the Prophet loves God. Whoever hates Ali hates the Prophet, and whoever hates the Prophet hates God. These are the statements of the Prophet, peace be upon him. These are important Sunni sources. سمعت رسول الله, Salama says, من سب عليا فقد سبني. Whoever slanders Ali is slandering the Prophet. The Prophet himself saying, whoever slanders Ali is slandering me. And then the Prophet said to Ali, قال لعلي إنك تقاتل على تأويل القرآن كما قاتلت على تنزيله. Oh Ali, you're going to fight groups for the implementation of the Quran. The rightful implementation of the Quran. And who was fighting Imam Ali? Go back to the incident of Jamal and Siffin, the camel incident in Basra, and the battle of Siffin with Muawiyah. So the Prophet was telling him, 30 years ahead of time, was telling him what will happen during his reign, during his Khilafah. And then we come to this book, my friends. This book, I need to spend a whole session about this book. Again, Tazkiratul Khawas, a credible Hanafi scholar from Baghdad who lived 708 years ago. 708 years ago. He speaks about hadithun. He has a whole chapter about man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. Hadithun fi qawlihi alayhi salam, man kuntu mawla fa aliyun mawla. And he mentions the hadith here. And then he starts to explain the hadith. And then he says mawla here, because some people say, we accept. The Prophet said, man kuntu mawla fa. But mawla means the Prophet wanted to say that Ali is your brother, your friend. This Sunni scholar, Sibt ibn al-Jawzi, Allama Sibt ibn al-Jawzi, said no. Wilaya here, mawla here, أولى من كنت ومعناه من كنت أولى به من نفسه فعلي أولى به. He says it has many meanings, but the rightful meaning is whoever I have authority over him, the Prophet says, then Ali after me has authority over him. My friends, Ibn Jarir, Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, number one in tafsir and history. Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, again he's from Mazandaran, Tabaristan, his name is Tabari means Tabaristan, Mazandaran, from Faris, from today's Mazandaran, on the Caspian Sea. But he died in Baghdad. He chose to live in Baghdad, and he died, and he has a grave today, mausoleum, people visit him. Great man, Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Tabari, a household name in Islam. He wrote many books, but among them, the one I have here on the shelf, at the top of the shelf, his history, Tarikh al-Tabari, and Tafsir al-Tabari. His tafsir is the mother of all tafasir. No single Sunni mufassir, commentator of the Quran, came without copying from the book of Muhammad ibn Jarir. He doesn't mention Hadith Al-Ghadeer in his history book or his tafsir book, but he has written a special book of 2 volumes. A special book of 2 volumes about Hadith Al-Ghadeer, because he heard some people in Baghdad say Hadith Al-Ghadeer is a myth. And in fact, Ali was not even there. He was still in Yemen. So when he heard this, he could not stand it. He decided to write 2 volumes on Hadith Al-Ghadeer, and he quotes over 70 of the Sahaba, companions of the Prophet, who narrate the story of Ghadeer. After him comes 400 and some years after him, 464 years after him, Al-Imam Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir again has tafsir. Ibn Kathir is the leader. 3 leaders, top leaders of the Salafi and Wahhabi tradition. Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi, Ibn Taymiyyah al-Harrani al-Dimashqi, and Ibn Kathir al-Dimashqi. Those are the top 3 masterminds of Salafism. Those people are infallible in Saudi Arabia. In the Salafi tradition, those 3, Ibn Hazm, Ibn Taymiyyah, and Ibn Kathir. And of course, before them is Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Saudi Arabia, Wahhabism follows Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. It's a Hanbali tradition. Okay? With some modification. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab came and made some modification to the Hanbali tradition, and he produced the Wahhabi tradition. So even this man, who is a student of Ibn Taymiyyah, and if you read his books, he keeps cursing the Rafidah. Full of cursing. Even this man who died in 774, Ibn Kathir al-Dimashqi, this man, he quotes وروى ابن كثير في البداية والنهاية. In the book of history that he has, وروى ابن كثير عن كتاب الغدير لابن جرير الطبري. He came 470 years after At-Tabari, but he saw the book of Ghadeer, which was written by Tabari. He saw it and he quotes from that book. This man, Ibn Kathir. Ibn Kathir. He says, I saw the book. And he quotes from the book. And he quotes this. أيها الناس إني وليكم. Ibn Kathir. In his book, which I unfortunately don't have it, but I'll bring it soon. Al-Bidayah wal-Nihaya. The book of history of Ibn Kathir. He says in his book, Bidayah wal-Nihaya, أيها الناس, the Prophet said to his companions, إني وليكم, I'm your leader, your guardian. قالوا صدقت. They said, yes, Ya Rasulullah, of course. فرفع يد علي. He raised the arm of Ali. فقال هذا ولي. This is wali, my successor. والمؤدي عني, the one who's going to deliver the message on my behalf. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ مُوَالِيَ مَنْ وَالَاهُ. And God is going to be the friend of those who are going to support Ali and stand with him. Let me conclude with a verse in this book. Let's reflect on this verse. Surah Al-Baqarah 159. As I said yesterday, the story of Ghadeer, you see it in these books. What more do you want? And there are many other books. I don't have time. It's already 43 minutes, 44 minutes now. I don't have time. Otherwise, I can, believe me, sit with you until dawn and bring more books and show you more books of history, books of commentary on the Quran, tafsir, books of hadith, traditions of the Prophet, books of kalam, theology. But some of them I don't have them here and I don't have the time. Let me tell you, despite this, politics sidelined the Ghadeer. They don't want people to know about it, unfortunately. Because of politics. Because of politics. Such a consequential event in the history of Islam. Such a powerful hadith that has been narrated by 110 of the companions of the Prophet is being overshadowed. Is being overcast. Nobody speaks about it. They don't want you to know. What does God say about this? In chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah. إن الذين يكتمون ما أنزلنا من البينات. Verily, those who deliberately conceal the bayinat, the signs that we sent to them. ما أنزلنا من البينات والهدى. They conceal the signs and the guidance that we sent down من بعد ما بيناه للناس في الكتاب, after we made it clear for mankind in the book. أولئك يلعنهم الله ويلعنهم اللاعنون. Such people are going to be, God is going to curse them, and people are going to curse them. The fact has to be produced. The fact has to be presented. We have to speak about the fact. And these are the facts. Hadith Al-Ghadeer is the biggest fact in the history of Islam. But unfortunately, politics concealed it and covered it. But the light of God cannot be covered, my friends. I love you all. May God bless you all. We are very proud that we follow the Prophet and his family as he asked us and as God asked us to follow in the book. Eid Mubarak, Eid Al-Ghadeer Mubarak on all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.